We finally got Logan Paul's response to Coffeezilla on his three-part series about CryptoZoo.
Coffeezilla. I watched your three-part series called Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam, and like many on this platform, you have successfully used my name for views and money. While your work used to be impartial, your addiction to clicks has clouded your judgment and you've made very real errors with very real repercussions.
So it's the big reveal. Time to see where Coffeezilla was wrong, what he got wrong, what the facts really are, and let Logan tell us all how everything went down.
You see, Coffeezilla tried to work with law enforcement in the past, but his work was described as not anchored to truth and often speculative. He is a lopsided journalist with an agenda, and he's nothing more than the Keemstar of crypto and finance.
So within the first minute, we might see how this is actually going down. Obviously, he talks about Coffeezilla and tries to throw attacks at him instead of defending himself. That seems pretty telling, pretty typical response from a lot of people. When you can't defend yourself, just attack the other person and hope everybody believes it. So maybe this isn't the video where we get the full access to the behind the scenes of Logan Paul and CryptoZoo. Maybe this is exactly what we were all expecting.
Coffee, you interviewed the developer who stole the game code, fled to Switzerland, and held it hostage for $1 million. Well, his name is Zach Kelling. Surely, as the internet detective that you proclaim to be, you would know that he spent time in prison for multiple felonies, one for aggravated robbery, armed robbery at a liquor store, and the other for, surprise, obstructing the legal process.
So I guess we got Logan's first point here, really trying to just say, like, this guy's a felon, and obviously that's why he could never tell the truth of what happened with CryptoZoo. But didn't you hire him? If the whole attack here is this guy's a felon, and obviously nothing he says could be truthful, why did you hire a felon? That seems to go against everything that you're trying to preach right here, right? You can't hire someone who's a felon and then be mad if they turn into a felon, right? And it might speak more on you and your team's ability and this project's ability to actually be a good project. How are you vetting people? How are you letting these types of people in? Because it seems like, as we're going to see throughout the whole video, the entire circle was just a bunch of bad guys and criminals. But surprisingly enough, this point that Logan makes of him being a felon, he actually addressed it as to him being on his team.
And I know what you're thinking. What type of idiot would work with an unsavory individual like Zach Kelling? I guess that's what I get for trusting the team that I relied on to vet and manage Eddie's hiring process, who has turned out to be a professional con man that I have since learned fooled billionaires, the Mormon Church, the owner of the New York Yankees, and now me.
Oh, good. So the guy in charge of vetting your guys was a con man and a criminal, so you trusted him. Yeah, that makes complete sense. We're getting a real big theme here with Logan Paul's response, with it literally being, I'm not the bad guy. Everybody else around me was. Can't you see that? Because Logan Paul is just taking no responsibility. Clearly, it could never be him. He's obviously too good for that somehow. And instead of taking responsibility, saying he made the wrong choices, he's simply just blaming everybody else around him. It wasn't his fault. It was his team's fault. It was Eddie's fault. It was the developer's fault, but it wasn't Logan Paul's fault. Couldn't be. And at the end of the day, no matter who your team is and who you've hired, whoever works for you, it is your brand. Logan was promoting this project. Logan was pushing this project. Logan is the only reason this project has any value or pumped and dumped at all. He is the sole reason for that. So if you're going to hang your brand on something, you better make sure everybody working on it is actually doing what they say they're doing and actually has the values that you share. Otherwise, what's the point? Why put your reputation and brand on something that you are just all willy-nilly and not caring about?
You seemed pretty excited when the guy told you that he couldn't hatch the eggs.
Wait, you can't even hatch?
No, I'm telling you, it's just a picture.
You're kidding! You can't hatch?
You're kidding. You can't hatch?
You can't hatch?
Yeah, 1 second of research would prove that to be false, as you can definitely hatch eggs and even breed your animals. And as you pointed out in your fine print, cross-hatching was available on ETH at one point, but you perpetuated the opposite as truth with your chest out.
So here we go again, Logan, kind of picking and choosing what he wants to talk about, because even in that subtle words and small print that he points out, he ignores the second half of that entire sentence where it says ETH was so buggy that it shut down, which would mean that you couldn't hatch your eggs. So why are you saying, oh my God, why are you so shocked about this? And as far as I am aware, I'm pretty sure it was a problem with ETH. If you bought the eggs with Ethereum and not Zoo token, then it was buggy and a lot of people couldn't hatch their eggs. So you're kind of misleading or missing out some points. So why are you doing that?
Nothing worked.
And by the way, Guy, almost all NFTs are just pictures.
I'm telling you, it's just a picture.
And that's also funny too, with Logan Paul saying, by the way, Guy, most NFTs are pictures, which, you know, isn't true. Obviously, NFTs are connected to JPEGs. That's how a lot of people sell them to people. But there's not a picture on the blockchain. The blockchain has a link to the picture stored on some sort of Google server or AWS server, but it's not on the blockchain. So no, an NFT is not a picture. It's a chain of letters and numbers of a link to go to that picture. But that's for an entire different video. But maybe Logan Paul doesn't fully understand what an NFT is. That's possible.
Surely a real internet detective would not break criminal and civil laws in trying to get information, right? So why have you allowed the illegal recording of Jeff's phone call without his permission? And then more like an internet criminal, post it online.
And it was interesting. It was like, this is wild.
So this point that Logan Paul is making, I'm not too sure on how to really read it because this is a lot of legal stuff and I'm just a moron on the internet. So, you know, this is for lawyers to kind of talk about, but he talks about this phone call recording and brings up California law, but Coffeezilla lives in Texas where it's a one-party consent state, and Logan Paul lives in Puerto Rico where I think you can record it for investigating reasons. I don't know, a little Google search. Like I said, not a lawyer, so don't know any of the laws. I don't know if you have to conform to whatever state as a two-party rule, if you're in a different state or what goes on, or if he's just picking California as a good option to kind of put that law out there, because he lives in Puerto Rico, Coffeezilla lives in Texas, maybe Jeff lives in California. I don't know. That could be it. But at the end of the day, for this point, I don't know. I am not smart enough on laws to, you know, think if this was legal or illegal.
Jake the Snake is no longer affiliated with CryptoZoo, and we hope the money he reappropriated was worth ruining his reputation. Con man Eddie is being investigated by a higher authority that I cannot speak on. As you can imagine, I was not cleared from legal to discuss much of this, including the legal process being undertaken and the criminal investigations going on during the fallout.
So does this mean the entire team for CryptoZoo was a bunch of criminals? Because how can you believe, or how can you let people or think people are going to look at this and see that a founding member of the team was a con man and a criminal, the advisor to the team was a criminal, and the developer on the team was a criminal? How are people supposed to look at this and think, yeah, there's nothing wrong there? If a bunch of criminals are involved in something, maybe that thing is not so legit. I think that would be a reasonable stance to take, a reasonable approach to say, a lot of shady people in here, maybe the project is a little bit shady.
But even after 12 months of work, you've still managed to overlook one crucial piece of information. See, even though I've said it's coming so many times, you've assumed that CryptoZoo isn't being made. Who are you to decide when the development timeline ends? I got everything stolen from me in our community, stopped promoting publicly as soon as I knew the extent of the internal issues, took all of the heat on social, and you still published a defamatory hit piece fully knowing I was innocent just so you could enrich yourself in your $10 million studio.
So I don't know about all this. You know, a lot of this part seems like an act, right? Logan Paul is desperately trying to avoid a lawsuit or any type of negative action towards himself because obviously he abandoned this whole project. If he cared so much, like he's saying he did, why did he only message in the Discord twice, 3 times total, with the third time being after a year of being inactive and only after Coffeezilla put out videos? And if you truly cared, like you're trying to say you do right here, why wouldn't you put out the bad news too? You promoted it, you made it public, you talked about how great of a game it was. You'd owe it to your investors and people involved in this project, the community behind it. You owe it to them to say, we've got some problems going on. Go into the Discord, say, we've got problems. The developer's doing this. We got snakes and the founding fathers of this crypto project. This is happening short term. It's going to be very difficult to fix all of this. It's going to take a while. Why wouldn't you put out that warning or some sort of talk to your community if you truly cared so much like you're saying you do? And after that, he puts in a threat to Coffeezilla. I mean, basically telling him that he's going to sue him.
But deeply unethical, dangerously misleading, and illegal. I suggest you use the money you got from pumping your Patreon to hire a good lawyer. You're gonna need it.
And this next point is pretty interesting because it shows how Logan is just moving the goalpost wherever he wants it to go to try and seem good or change the narrative, make himself look better, because he literally says one thing in this video and then on Twitter completely moves the goalpost because he got proven wrong.
Maybe we could have talked about this if you had reached out to me personally, not my manager Jeff, who is not me, Steven, but the first time you did was on Christmas Eve after you released your series so you could rely on false statements and unreliable people used recklessly. The subject line was third request for comment. Yeah, not quite. This will be my third time reaching out to you and your team. The first 2 times were through your manager Jeff. The first 2 times were through your manager Jeff. Okay, so the last time on Christmas Eve after the fact was to me.
You can see the whole point. Logan Paul saying you have to reach out directly to him to get word. His manager, I guess, doesn't do his job. What's the point of a manager if he doesn't pass along messages that are probably pretty important to, his client? What does your manager do if he doesn't do that? I feel like that's the entire point of a manager. But we do have Coffeezilla responding to this point directly on Twitter, where he says, Logan Paul responded, talking about his video, 0 apologies, 0 addressing victims, 0 accountability. I will reply in full when I organize my thoughts. But for now, Logan accuses me of not reaching out to him directly until December 24th, 2022, but doesn't mention I reached out over a year prior on Instagram. And he shows his screenshot here of, him reaching out on Instagram, October 1st, 2021. So that's a long time ago. So he reached out directly to Logan Paul. Remember, that was exactly what Logan said. You have to reach out directly to him, because how could he ever expect his manager to pass along a message? And if we scroll down here, you can see this tweet is Coffeezilla basically saying like he reached out to Jeff after not getting a response. And then you have Logan Paul right here saying, if you expect me to see every DM that comes through from every social media gossip channel trying to make a name for themselves, you're ridiculous. And like I said in my email, where his email talks about something about getting his professional email, but you see he moved the goalpost. Originally, in his video, he said, you have to reach out to me directly. My manager doesn't pass on messages to me. I guess he's not a real manager. What's the point of him being a manager? I don't know. But then Coffeezilla literally shows him, I reached out to you directly. And then he says, what do you mean you reached out to me directly? Don't you know I'm Logan Paul? I'm famous. I can't possibly see your DMs. So what was the point of that whole thing? It's almost like the entire point of a manager is because you might not be able to see the DMs, and the manager can see the messages from people, filter out the trash, bring in the maybe important ones and say, Logan, Coffeezilla reached out for comment on CryptoZoo. What do you want to do with this?
Come on any of your podcasts. If you want to come on Impulsive and talk about this, that's fine. You've denied my invitation multiple times. You're still invited. It can be a one-on-one. If not, we're going to handle this ourselves while we continue to build CryptoZoo, and I'll see you in court.
So that's the end of Logan Paul's video. I think it went about as well as we all expected it. I definitely expected him to just say, it's not my fault, it's everybody else's fault around me, and Coffeezilla does bad work. And I think that's exactly what this video is about. But we can't be blind to the fact that the only reason he is involved at all in CryptoZoo right now, trying to build this game out, is because of Coffeezilla making these videos. Had Coffeezilla not made these videos, he would have abandoned CryptoZoo, moved on to his next little project, and acted like it never happened. Kind of like what he did with Dink Doink, with Liquidation Market, or Liquid Market, I think it was called, and many other cryptos that he's kind of been a part of, and then distanced himself after. And this part of the video, the ending, is just the best part, isn't it? CryptoZoo coming in 2023, or maybe 2024, maybe 2025, 2026, maybe even 2027. Because after all, we couldn't possibly talk about the development of CryptoZoo, right? So that's the Logan Paul response that we've all been waiting for. I think it went about as well as everyone expected, or most people expected. Him blaming everybody else, saying it's not his fault, he didn't do anything wrong, he's a good actor, everybody else is bad, Coffee does bad work. I think that's exactly what a lot of people were expecting. That's what we got. And we got the release date of CryptoZoo, 2023 or 2024 or somewhere in the future. So that's going to do it for this video. As always, remember to smash the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video.